Welcome back to another episode in the Aquila 32 Sport Owner's Experience Series. I thought it would be a good idea to put together a dedicated video to something that would have saved us a lot of grief on our very first long overnight trip on the boat. And that subject is checklists. There's nothing more aggravating than when you're away from home and you need something on the boat and it's either not there or it doesn't work. When you start out boating, you're bound to make some mistakes. The trick is not repeating them. So in that thought, let's get started. Here's what we learned. 1. Have a checklist similar to my flight checklist that is completed before leaving the dock. 2. Have a grasp on the weather for the day so that you aren't caught off guard in a bad situation. 3. Know the effects of wind direction on the larger bodies of water on your route. 4. Check for small craft advisories on the larger bodies of water. We actually Googled small craft advisories in the large bodies of water that we would be in, and it worked. 5. What is the boat's limit on the sea conditions? 6. What are your limits? Chances are it's far less than what the boat can take. What's your departure checklist look like? I mentioned a checklist earlier because I'm a pilot. And we always use checklists for several facets of the flight itself, including different parts of when we're on the ground. So I think it's a great idea to have a checklist for your boat. So this is what our departure checklist looks like. Make sure your Navionics routes are calculated and loaded. Make sure you have dockage reservations made and find out what kind of services they offer. Have you checked the weather? What about small craft advisories? Make sure that whatever it is, that you can take it and your passengers can take it. Bridges and locks. Check the openings and also calculate your clearances. Maybe you don't have to have that bridge open. Verify your onboard systems. For me, check the oil. Check and make sure the motor tilts. Check the prop condition. What about your ropes? Are they in good shape? Shore power. Is that working? Batteries, make sure the batteries are on. Your breakers, turn on your breakers. Your anchor, check and make sure it's stowed and the rope condition. Also, you might want to check and make sure it works. Your C zone, check it for errors. Sometimes you'll get an error that will be stray, and make sure that you get that taken care of before you take off, because if you have an error now, chances are you're going to have an error on that trip. Do you have enough fuel for the trip? Verify that you do with a 45-minute reserve. Top off your fresh water. What about your black water? Do you have enough to poop along the trip? Hate to say it that way, but you don't want to get along the trip and have a full black water tank. Empty it every chance you get. Your water pump. Make sure that you have water on the boat if you're going to need it. You'll definitely need it if you're going to use the toilet. If you're planning on taking a shower, or if you need hot water for the dishes, check and make sure that you do have hot water and that it's working. Flush the toilet. Just make sure it works. Galley. Check your grill. Make sure it comes on, gets hot. Your fridge. Is it cold and supplied? Your AC and heat. If you're going to use it, check and make sure that it works. You only get AC and heat in the bathroom and in the bedroom. Your microwave, if you have one. Check it, make sure it works. Pretty handy to have one on board. Coffee maker, check and make sure it's working and supplied with coffee. If I take off without that coffee maker and supplies with my wife, I got a problem. Honk your horn, make sure it works. It's a safety item. Your bilges, make sure that they actually operate. Your nav lights, check, make sure that they work. You never know if you're going to get stranded or if you're going to be running at night. Even if you're planning a day trip, what if you break down and you end up there during nighttime hours? It's good to have those nav lights. Check your interior lights, the cabin, the head, the salon, anywhere you're going to use those lights, make sure they work. Your spotlight. If you think you're going to have a chance to use it or you'll need it, check it, make sure it works. Get your antenna up. That antenna folds down easily and folds back up just as easily. For me, I have to take it down, or you may have to take it down when you have to clear the bridges, or if I have to get into my boat lift. Either way, you need to make sure that that antenna is up so that your radio transmissions can be heard clearly and you can receive radio transmissions. Check the radio. Make sure your radio is working. Your nav screens, make sure they're both working. If you have night vision, check and make sure the camera turns on. All right, now back to the regular checklist. This is number 7. Can the trip be made safely with any known failures above? 8. Make sure you have enough life vests on board. 9. A medical kit. This is a small, simple item. Make sure you have one that is supplied and on board. 10. Gas grill. If you have one present, make sure you have propane for the trip. 11. Toilet paper. Check it. You can't flush regular stuff. You need to make sure you have the boat toilet paper, the marine toilet paper that works for the boat. 12. Paper towels. Check. This is a great item to have on board. 13. Utensils. Check those. Make sure that you have them. You need them for eating and cooking, so it's more than just a fork and a knife. It's going to be a spatula or something to grab, or maybe a spoon. 14. If you have bikes on board, make sure that they're stowed. If they're electric, make sure they're charged. 15. Spare blankets and towels. Make sure you have those on board. 16. Trash. Empty it, because you will build it up on the trip. 17. Cushions and mats. Secured. 18. Cabinets and doors. Secured. So this is our checklist, and your list will vary, but I think this is a pretty good starting point, and I think as a pilot, that checklist has saved me more than once. And on a boat, a checklist will at some point save you from some sort of either a disaster or an inconvenience. So get a checklist, laminate it, make sure it's waterproof, get it on your boat, store it underneath your helm seat, and be ready for the next trip. We also have a docking checklist, and it includes making sure that the bumpers are out if they're needed. Get your dock line secured. Once everything's secured, then go ahead and get your motor batteries and turn them off. Make sure you get shore power plugged in if it's available. And then I have a couple of options here. If we're going to be gone, then I'll go ahead and select the docked away, and I select this and it'll turn off all the major items like the grill, etc. And then we'll go ahead and separately turn on the fridge when we leave. That way our items that are there being stored don't get hot or get ruined. We also, if we're going to stay around, we'll go ahead and select docked on board if we're going to stay on board. Then I'll turn off all the unnecessary breakers, and then you need to determine whether you need fuel, water, or a pump out. And get that taken care of right away. Make sure you do it early rather than late. Usually when you get ready to leave, you're ready to leave, and you don't want to have to wait for all these other services to take place. And a lot of times everybody has the same idea you do, and they want to leave at the same time. So whenever you get there to the marina, go ahead and get those services taken care of. These checklists are a must for overnight trips. This is our first take on them, so let us know your thoughts. Stay tuned for another Owner's Experience video soon. Thanks again for watching.